The Galactic Council's Judgment. In the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council Citadel, the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Representatives from 1,000 star systems had gathered to witness a momentous occasion. A young species from a distant blue planet was petitioning for advancement to join the ranks of the great civilizations. Commander Zara Solari stood tall before the council, her crisp United Earth Space Corps uniform a stark contrast to the shimmering robes of the assembled alien dignitaries. She met their appraising stares with a defiant lift of her chin. "Esteemed counselors," Zora began, her voice ringing clear, "I come before you today to present the achievements of my people. In the mere century since we first ventured to the stars, humanity has made strides that the Zeloth Counselor, a crystalline being that pulsed with inner light, interrupted with a dismissive wave of its appendage. Your species is young and primitive," its harmonic voice chimed. "Warp drives, terraforming, quantum computing. These are but a child's toys to us." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall. Zara fought down a surge of anger at their casual derision. "We are young, yes," she countered, "but humanity's potential is meaningless without proof." Another counselor spoke, its bulbous eyes narrowing. "Your kind still wages wars amongst yourselves. You have barely scratched the surface of the higher dimensions. You are millennia away from deserving a place among us." As the council continued to dissect Earth's shortcomings, Zara gripped the edge of the podium until her knuckles whitened. They didn't understand. They couldn't see what burned within the human spirit, that defiant spark that had carried her species from caves to the cosmic void in an eye blink of galactic time. She thought of the secret communique she'd received before this assembly, of the hushed excitement in the voice of Dr. Eli Winters, Earth's leading Tesseract physicist. "Commander Solari, we've had a breakthrough with the Tesseract drive. Project Infinity is ready. Humanity's future will be made not here, but in the higher dimensions." The Zeloth Counselor's resonant tones jolted Zora back to the present. "This council moves to reject Earth's petition for advancement. All in favor." A glittering sea of appendages rose in assent. Zara lifted her head, her voice steely with resolve. "I thank you for your consideration." On her wrist, a covered holo-display winked a message in ghostly text. It was time. As she strode from the hall, the weight of the council's judgment at her back, Zora allowed herself a fierce, hidden smile. The alien civilizations had revealed the depth of their arrogance this day. Soon, all of galactic society would bear witness to what happened when humanity was underestimated. In the obsidian depths of space, far from any star or planet, a titanic structure floated serenely against the void. To look at it was to feel reality warp at the edges of your vision, as though the station existed in more dimensions than the mind could readily perceive. This was Tesseract Station, Earth's most secret astroengineering marvel. Within its curving halls, the brightest minds of humanity had gathered to crack the codes of higher dimensional physics, and in so doing forever alter the destiny of their species. Dr. Eli Winters barely glanced up from his holo-displays as Commander Zora Solari strode into the Tesseract Drive laboratory, the scorched pride of her council appearance still smoldering in her eyes. "That bad, huh?" Eli quipped. "Worse," Zora growled. "They didn't even pretend to consider our achievements. To them we're just—" She broke off as her gaze fell upon the apparatus dominating the center of the lab and the slate-gray hull of the Starship resting in the docking cradle beyond. "Is that it? Is that the Infinity?" Eli grinned, the excitement of a kid with a universe-altering new toy. "Beauty, isn't she? Our Tesseract Drive prototype, all grown up and ready to fly." He gestured to the schematic floating above them. "That unassuming little ship out there is about to make history. With her 7D warp core, she can dance across dimensional membranes that the council races never even imagined. They're about to learn a very hard lesson about underestimating humanity." As the two gazed out at the sleek silhouette of Earth's first higher dimension ship, a klaxon blared throughout the station. "Proximity alert," the fluid tones of the AI announced. Unidentified craft emerging from fold space at the system's edge. Energy signatures consistent with Galactic Council warships. Zara and Eli exchanged a tense glance. They knew this day would come, when the Council's curiosity about certain anomalous readings would override their dismissal of Earth's potential. "They're here for the Tesseract drive," Zara said grimly. Eli nodded. "I'd hoped we'd have more time, but the Infinity will have to launch now. The future waits for no one." He clapped a hand to Zora's shoulder. "This is it, Commander. Time for humanity to show the galaxy what we're really made of." As alert sirens echoed and engineers scrambled to their stations with the tight focus of people who'd trained for this moment all their lives, Zara felt something kindle in her chest. Not anxiety or trepidation, but a bright flare of defiance and purpose. The Council wanted proof of humanity's worthiness. They'd get it now, in a form they'd never see coming. It was time to let the Infinity loose upon the stars and watch an arrogant galaxy tremble before the audacity of humanity unleashed. Project Tesseract. Deep in the uncharted reaches of space, far from the prying eyes of the Galactic Council, Tesseract Station hummed with focused activity. In the central command nexus, Commander Zora Solari watched the master display with a raptor's intensity, tracking the Council warships as they prowled ever closer. "Talk to me, Eli," she said tightly. "What's the status of the Infinity?" Dr. Eli Winters, his face lit by the glow of holodisplays, flashed Zora a manic grin. "Tesseract Drive is spooled and ready, Commander. We've been waiting for this moment for a long time." Zora thought back to the early days of Project Tesseract, when the notion of a 7D starship was just a wild gleam in the eye of Eli and his team of maverick physicists. Backed by a black budget from United Earth, they had chased the elusive promise of higher dimensional travel, a way to sidestep the light barrier entirely and dance across the cosmic web on strands of pure mathematics. Most had scoffed at first, dismissing the project as a fool's errand. The greatest minds of a dozen starfaring species had spent centuries merely skirting the edges of 4D spacetime. The idea that an upstart race like humanity could leapfrog the established laws of physics was sheer hubris. But Eli and his team had a vision, born from the unique spark of human ingenuity. They approached the problem sideways, abandoning the hidebound paradigms of the Council races in favor of a new model they called Tesseract theory. Inspired by the 4D cube of ancient Terran geometry, they set out to build a starship powered not by brute fuel or field manipulation, but by the elegant dance of mathematics between dimensions. With a skeleton crew of volunteers and a small fleet of robotic constructors, they had assembled the Infinity in secret, taking advantage of Council complacency to work undisturbed. Every rivet and conduit was imbued with higher dimensional circuitry, each bulkhead folded in on itself like a fractal origami. The result was a ship that would look modest to Council eyes, just another primitive human vessel skulking at the fringes, at least until the Tesseract Drive powered up and the very fabric of space-time began to warp around its hull. "Commander." The alarmed voice of the sensor operator jolted Zora back to the present. "The Council ships have locked onto our location. They're powering weapons and engaging fold drives." "So much for diplomatic overtures," Eli said dryly. He turned to Zora, his expression hardening. "It's now or never, Commander. Give the order." Zara felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders as she looked out over the command nexus, meeting the eyes of each member of her hand-picked crew. They had all sacrificed much to be here, laboring in secret to build Earth's best hope for the future. In each face she saw not a trace of doubt or fear, only steely resolve and a readiness to leap into the unknown. Humanity's destiny, she realized, had always lain among the stars. And now, at last, they had a ship that could carry them beyond every limit that the galaxy had tried to place upon them. With a deep breath, she squared her shoulders and turned to face the master display. "This is Commander Zora Solari to all decks. The Galactic Council has come to judge us, to put humanity back in what they believe is our rightful place. Her voice rang with quiet power through the infinity's halls. Today, we prove them wrong. Today, we launch not just a new starship, but a new era for our species. One where we stride between dimensions as easily as we once crossed the seas and skies of our birth world. One where we make our own destiny amongst the stars, beholden to none. She thought of the Council's sneering dismissal, their refusal to see humanity as anything more than primitive children scrabbling in the cosmic shallows. A fierce, exultant grin spread across her face. Let's show them what those children can do. Eli was already in motion, his fingers a blur over the holo controls. All systems to full, he called out. Tesseract drive online. Releasing docking clamps. Deep in the infinity's heart, the 7D warp core thrummed to life. Cosmic equations and dimensional balletics meshing into a symphony of physics-defying power. On the master display, the icon denoting the Council warships blinked closer, their hostility clear. Zara gripped the railing before her. Infinity, she murmured, it's time to dance. With a surge of preternatural energy, the Tesseract drive engaged. To Council sensors, it would seem as if the infinity had simply vanished, swallowed up by the higher dimensions their science barely understood. Only Zara and her crew, riding the crest of that impossible wave, would know the truth, that a new age of human exploration and audacity had begun. As the ship flung itself across dimensional membranes, the crew's triumphant cheer resounded through its passageways. In that moment, the entirety of the multiverse lay open before them. And nothing, not even the haughtiest Council race, could stand in humanity's way. Dimensional showdown. In the vast tranquility of higher dimensional space, the USC Infinity danced between the membranes of reality, its gleaming hull reflecting colors that had no name in Terran lexicon. On the bridge, Commander Zura Solari gazed in wonder at the sublime vista spreading out before them. It's beautiful, she breathed, like staring into the face of eternity. Dr. Eli Winters, his eyes alive with the joy of discovery, could only nod. The Tesseract drive had exceeded even his wildest projections, catapulting them across dimensional barriers as if they were mere gossamer. For a moment, he allowed himself to savor the enormity of their achievement, the first humans to break the 4D shackles and roam free in the higher realms. A moment was all they had before the urgent voice of the sensor operator shattered their reverie. Commander, we have incoming. Multiple Council signatures, closing fast. Zara snapped to alertness, the peaceful vista forgotten. They followed us into the higher dimensions, she stated grimly. Ely frowned at his displays. Impossible. Their ships can't possibly. He broke off, eyes widening. Unless they reverse-engineered our Tesseract wake. Damn their arrogance. They just can't stand to let us outpace them. On the master display, the Council warships hung in the dimensional gulf before them, weapons arrays alive with baleful energies. Their message was clear: return to the lower realms or be destroyed. The Infinity, for all its Tesseract wizardry, was still just a nascent prototype, untested in the fires of combat. Zara felt the eyes of her bridge crew upon her, awaiting orders. The weight of the moment crystallized into diamond clarity: fight or flight, dominance or subservience. The fate of humanity's ambitions hung upon her next words. She took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. When she spoke, her voice rang with ironclad certainty. This ends here. No more cringing before the Council's judgment. No more begging for scraps at the galactic table. The Infinity will not yield. She turned to Eli, a feral light in her eyes. Doctor, I believe it's time we showed our esteemed pursuers just what a Tesseract ship can really do. Eli grinned in fierce joy, his hands already flying across the holo controls. Aye, Commander. Initializing full 7D warp protocols. Let's see them try to catch us now. The Infinity surged forward, slipping between dimensional membranes like a needle threading the fabric of creation. In its wake, the very structure of local space-time rippled and distorted, the ship's passage scrawling equations of staggering complexity across the cosmic substrate. The Council ships, ponderous in their 4D shackles, could only lumber after them, their scanners straining to even perceive the human ship as it danced in and out of real space. Their commanders gaped in astonishment, their millennia of complacent superiority crumbling before this display of upstart audacity. In the heart of the infinity, the Tesseract drive sang with barely restrained power, its 7D warp equations meshing and evolving in ways no physicist, human or council, had ever dared to contemplate. Eli watched the readouts with a mixture of elation and trepidation. They were charting the unknown, pushing the boundaries of their ship's capabilities with each dizzying transit. Zara, her eyes alight with the thrill of the chase, pressed the advantage. Helm, set course for the Orion Nebula. Let's see how our pursuers fancy a jaunt through the cradle of stars. As the Infinity leaped and spun through immensities beyond the reckoning of baseline spacetime, the Council warships fell farther and farther behind, their crews struggling to even parse the sensor ghosts of humanity's passage. In the face of such untrammeled innovation, their rote doctrine and rigid hierarchies were worse than useless. They were anchors, dragging them back into the comfortable limits of the merely known. The crew of the Infinity, flush with the headiness of the unexplored, pushed on into the glittering heart of the nebula. The ship dipped and soared through clouds of incandescent stardust, the Tesseract drive's protective fields transforming the deadly onslaught of gamma rays and magnetic flux into a luminous aurora that rippled along the hull. It was a moment of transcendent beauty, the first human witness to the birth throes of infant stars. Zara and Eli shared a glance of silent wonder, the realization of their epoch-making audacity settling into their bones. This was what humanity had always been meant for, not to cower in safe harbors, but to voyage unafraid into the brilliant unknown. As the Infinity burst from the far side of the nebula, the Council warships were nowhere to be seen, hopelessly lost in the dimensional labyrinth of the ship's wake. On the bridge, the crew erupted into cheers of unalloyed triumph. But Zara and Eli, even as they joined in the celebration, knew that this was only the beginning. The Council races would not take such a humbling lightly. They would marshal all the resources of their vast, anciently entrenched civilizations to match and exceed the upstart humans' dimensional prowess. The race was on now, a species-wide struggle for the future of the galaxy itself. And the crew of the Infinity, the tip of the spear of human endeavor, would have to push the boundaries of science and audacity ever further to stay one step ahead. In the churning immensity of higher dimensional space, a glinting speck marked the passage of the human starship as it ventured onwards, chasing the promise and peril of the endless frontier. The Council had sought to confine humanity to a cage of their own making, but in so doing, they had only unleashed a power that would reshape the cosmos forever, unraveling the dimensional matrix. The crew of the USC Infinity sailed the tides of the higher dimensions, each transit a leap into uncharted realms of physics and possibility. In the weeks since their audacious escape from the Council warships, they had voyaged further than any humans before them, bearing witness to cosmic vistas that defy description. But even as they reveled in the thrill of discovery, a new urgency underscored their mission. The Council races, stung by the humiliation of the Infinity's escape, were marshaling all the resources of their vast stellar empires to pierce the veil of the higher dimensions. It was only a matter of time before they unlocked the secrets of Tesseract technology and came hunting for their upstart rivals. In the ship's central lab, Dr. Eli Winters pored over the cascading readouts from the Tesseract drive, his brow furrowed in concentration. The 7D warp equations were evolving with each jump, hinting at deeper patterns and possibilities that danced just beyond the reach of his understanding. Commander Zara Solari, a constant presence at his side, studied the displays with a strategist's eye. "We need an edge," she said quietly, "something the Council won't see coming. Otherwise, it's only a matter of time before they catch up and drag us back to the baseline." Eli nodded, his fingers flying over the holo controls as he tweaked the drive parameters. "We're charting new territory with every jump," he mused, "pushing the boundaries of dimensional physics. Sooner or later, we're bound to stumble across something that will tilt the balance in our. His words trailed off as a new constellation of data bloomed across the central display. The tesseract equations, always a shimmering flux of higher dimensional mathematics, had suddenly snapped into stark geometric clarity. At their center, pulsing with an eerie regularity, was a pattern unlike anything Eli had ever seen. "What is that?" Zara breathed, leaning in for a closer look. Eli shook his head, wonder and trepidation warring in his eyes. "I'm not sure, but if these readings are accurate, we're looking at a dimensional signpost of sorts. A beacon pulsing from somewhere beyond the 7D manifold." He turned to Zara, a slow grin spreading across his face. "Commander, I think we just found our edge." The infinity surged through the writhing geometries of higher dimensional space, the tesseract drive thrumming with barely contained power as it homed in on the strange beacon. On the bridge, the crew watched the forward displays with a mixture of anticipation and unease, the knowledge that they were venturing into the truly unknown settling into their bones. Eli, his eyes alight with the fever of discovery, barely glanced up from his calculations. The beacon's signal was growing clearer with each passing moment, resolving into a complex, recursive pattern that hinted at meanings beyond the grasp of conventional physics. It was almost, he mused, as if they were staring into the blueprints of creation itself. Zara, her gaze fixed on the forward displays, felt a thrill of primal wonder shiver down her spine. Every instinct told her that they were on the cusp of something momentous, a discovery that would echo through the ages. And then, with a final, shuddering surge of power, the infinity broke through into a realm beyond the reckoning of baseline spacetime. Before them, stretching into infinity, was a vista of such staggering beauty and complexity that it defied description. Vast, shimmering structures hung in the ethereal void, their geometry constantly shifting and evolving in patterns that hinted at higher dimensions beyond human ken. Glowing filaments of pure energy wove between them, pulsing with the cadence of some vast, cosmic heartbeat. And everywhere, suffusing the entire realm, was a sense of imminent presence, as if the very fabric of creation was awake and aware. "My God," Eli whispered, his voice trembling with awe. It's a nexus, a crossroads of the higher dimensions. And those structures, they're not just signposts. They're relics, artifacts of a civilization so advanced, they make the Council look like Stone Age primitives." Zara, her eyes wide with wonder, could only nod. In a flash of searing intuition, she understood that this realm, this nexus, was the key to everything. Whoever controlled it would command the very warp and weft of dimensional space, wielding a power beyond the dreams of emperors. She turned to Eli, urgency thrumming in her voice. "We need to unlock its secrets, Doctor. Chart its pathways and master its physics, before the Council finds this place and seizes it for their own." Eli, already lost in a reverie of equations and hypotheses, could only nod. The greatest scientific challenge in human history lay before them, a puzzle beyond the reckoning of baseline reality. In the face of such epochal discovery, the squabbles of stellar empires and upstart races seemed petty and small. As the infinity hung in the shimmering void of the dimensional nexus, its crew enraptured by the vista of uncharted possibility, the future of the galaxy itself lay in the balance. In this ethereal realm, where the very laws of physics were mere playthings, the next chapter of humanity's destiny would be written. And this time, Zara vowed silently, they would not be denied. The Council races had sought to confine them, to put limits on the soaring ambition of the human spirit. But in so doing, they had unleashed a power beyond their darkest imaginings. A power that, in the fullness of time, would reshape the very heavens in humanity's image. Humanity ascendant. In the heart of the dimensional nexus, the crew of the USC Infinity labored to unravel the secrets of the cosmos itself. Dr. Eli Winters and his team pored over the shimmering relics left behind by the ancient civilization, their every waking moment consumed by the drive to master the physics of higher dimensional manipulation. Commander Zara Solari watched their progress with a mixture of anticipation and unease. Each new discovery brought them closer to the ultimate prize, the power to reshape the fabric of reality itself. But it also brought them closer to an inevitable confrontation with the Council races, who even now were racing to unlock the same secrets. Reports flowed in from Earth and the scattered human colonies. Council ships massing on the borders, their crews driven by the same desperate urgency that gripped the Infinity. The great powers of the galaxy, so long secure in their dominance, found themselves suddenly facing an adversary they had never imagined. An upstart species wielding dimensional science that outstripped their own. In the Nexus, time itself seemed to warp and twist, each moment stretching into an eternity of discovery. Dr. Winters and his team worked tirelessly, their minds afire with the possibilities unfolding before them. The Tesseract drive, once the pinnacle of human achievement, now seemed a mere child's toy compared to the vistas of cosmic potential they charted. And then, in a moment of shattering clarity, they found it. The key to the ultimate power, a set of equations encoded in the fractal geometries of the Nexus that promised to unlock the full potential of higher dimensional manipulation. With this knowledge, they could weave the very fabric of space-time like a tapestry, reshaping worlds and star systems with a mere thought. Zara felt the weight of the discovery settle on her shoulders like a mantle of destiny. With this power, humanity could forge its own path among the stars, beholden to none. They could rise from the shadows of galactic obscurity to take their rightful place as masters of the cosmos itself. But even as the crew of the Infinity celebrated their epochal achievement, the first Council ships began to emerge from the shimmering veils of the Nexus. Their hulls glinting with the fire of 1,000 stars, they bore down on the human vessel like wolves scenting their prey. On the bridge of the Infinity, Zara watched their approach with a calm born of absolute certainty. She knew, with a clarity that transcended mere faith, that this was humanity's moment. The Council had sought to deny them the stars, to consign them to the backwaters of the galactic stage. But they had not reckoned on the indomitable human spirit, the same drive that had carried them from the savannas of Africa to the depths of space, now propelled them to the very pinnacle of cosmic destiny. As the Council ships closed in, their weapons poised to strike, Zara turned to Dr. Winters with a nod. It was time. Time to unleash the full potential of their hard-won knowledge. Time to let the galaxy itself tremble before the might of humanity ascended. Eli's fingers danced across the holo-controls, his face lit by the glow of higher-dimensional equations. The Tesseract drive, now a mere ember compared to the inferno of power they had unlocked, surged to life with a silent roar. The very fabric of the Nexus began to warp and twist around the Infinity, the ancient relics pulsing in sympathy as human science bent them to its indomitable will. In the space of a single, endless moment, everything changed. The Council ships, their crews staring in slack-jawed amazement, found themselves suddenly adrift in a sea of twisted space-time. Their weapons, their drives, their very hulls dissolved into shimmering motes of unreality as the human ship rewrote the laws of physics around them. Across the galaxy, in 1,000 Council worlds and 100 scattered human colonies, the effects of the Infinity's ascension rippled out like a cosmic shockwave. Star lanes bent and reformed, planets shifted in their orbits, the very constants of the universe rewritten to conform to humanity's vision of a new galactic order. On Earth, in the halls of power and the streets of celebrating cities, a new era dawned, the age of human ascendancy, of a species that had dared to challenge the very fabric of creation and emerged victorious. In the Nexus, Zara and her crew stood witness to the birth pangs of a new reality, one shaped by human hands, human dreams, human ambitions, a reality where the stars themselves bowed before the indomitable will of Earth's far-flung children. The Infinity, its hull shimmering with the energies of a dozen dimensions, turned its bow towards the distant Sol system, towards home, towards a future as bright and limitless as the human spirit itself. In their wake, The galaxy trembled before the dawn of a new cosmic order. The reign of the council races, with all their ancient certainties and unassailable hierarchies, had crumbled to dust before the onslaught of human audacity. The dimensional nexus, once the plaything of gods and the refuge of lost civilizations, had become the crucible of humanity's ascension. In this ethereal realm, where the very warp and weft of space-time lay exposed, the crew of the Infinity had seized the ultimate power. And in so doing, they had forever altered the destiny of a galaxy. As the Infinity sailed the shimmering tides of higher dimensional space, the dreams of a species soared with it. Dreams of exploration and discovery, of the endless vistas of the cosmos laid bare before human eyes. Dreams of a future where the children of Earth stood tall among the stars, masters of their own fate, and the shapers of galaxies yet unborn. In the end, the council races had been right to fear humanity, not because of their weapons or their ships or their dimensional science, but because of the unquenchable fire that burned within them, the flame of curiosity, of audacity, of the primal need to push beyond every limit and barrier in their insatiable quest for knowledge and discovery. It was this fire, more than any mere technological marvel, that had carried them to the pinnacle of cosmic destiny. And it was this fire, burning bright in the hearts of every man, woman, and child who called Earth their home, that would light the way to a future beyond the wildest dreams of gods and empires. The USC Infinity, the tip of the spear of human ascendancy, sailed on into the glittering depths of a galaxy reborn. A galaxy where humanity, once dismissed as primitives and upstarts, now stood as the unquestioned masters of the cosmic dance. And in their wake, the stars themselves seemed to sing with the exultant chorus of a species unleashed. A species whose destiny, forevermore, would be written in the boundless reaches of the infinite cosmos. The end.